Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet. This review covers the 2013 release of the KISS Destroyer Monster Truck Kit. It's a 125 scale AMT kit number 787. Now, KISS was one of the greatest rock bands in history, and AMT has combined KISS graphics with the original Bigfoot monster truck model for a great new synergy of icons. Now, this kit's a direct re-release of the Bigfoot kit, but with new graphics. It's out of production now, but it's still available at online auction sites. Now, the kit consists of 126 parts molded in blue, chrome, and clear, and has vinyl tires and metal axles. In the build you also get a very detailed motor, and the chassis is a solid tube form, but it's straight and the fit is good. It's a race truck, so the interior is pretty basic. The cab is solid with a separate bed, and some minor add-on parts make it look really nice. The decals are a nice sheet of custom KISS Destroyer album art decals, and the vinyl flags are also included for the back. The instructions are nice fold-out units, and you get 3 sets in case you can also speak French and Spanish. Overall, when you're done, it'll be about 10 inches long, 5 3/4 inches wide, and 5 inches high. Here are the vinyl flags and the decals for this kit, and as you can see, they're very colorful, but I strongly suggest you use some of the decal setting solutions on the market to get them to conform, as they're a bit thick for the sides. Now, you'll also find that some super glue will be helpful in constructing the tube frame. But most of the model for the rest of it is built with some liquid cement, and we'll be using occasionally some white glue or clear glue for the windows. The first thing that I did was to spray all the parts with a medium gray primer because it's molded in blue, but I wanted a nice custom rich finish to my model. Now, we'll start with the motor, and it's built in stages, and you first assemble the block halves and then paint that steel, and then assemble the transmission halves and paint those aluminum. The exhaust is steel, and then assemble the air intake halves, the supercharger with the front and the back, the intake plenum, and the valley cover there, and paint this unit clear flat. Now assemble the hydrostatic pump and the belt, and the pump is steel with the belt being a flat black. Then paint the rear and the front mounting plates aluminum. Attach the breathers to the valve covers and paint that clear flat. Paint the heads aluminum color and the oil pan gold and the starter black. And then the blower belt is flat black and the frame cross member is semi-gloss black. An unusual arrangement. You can see the motor taking shape. Now assemble the block with the front and the rear mounting plates and add the transmission. Then install the heads and the valve covers. Add the intake unit and install the oil pan and the starter. Now add the blower belt and the pump with the cross member inserted but not glued into place. Then add the exhaust. I wanted to do something extra for my kit, so I decided to use a pre-wired distributor, and I cut the cap off of the kit's magneto and added my distributor cap in place with some super glue. Then I installed the magneto into place on the motor, and I drilled out locations on the heads for the plugs, and cut a small part of black tubing for the boots to slide on each wire. Then you put them in place over the boot, over the hole to make it look correct. Now super glue all the wires into place, and I cut the center wire there and added the coil at the other end, and it sits on the motor. The tires can be assembled and then set aside, so paint the rim front and the backs red, and the hubs and the lug nuts are silver on the front rims, and the inner hub area is flat black on the back rims. Now the tires have a larger backside hole for the back rim, and this ensures proper location later as the tires are marked A and B. Now insert the rims into place and insert the metal axle into the rims of the A tires. Now we'll work on the interior a bit, and it's painted and assembled. So first paint the seat red with some black belts, and then the seat base is black with aluminum mounts. Now the frame rails are black, as well as the instrument pods, and they're aluminum, and they have some black and white detailing for the dials and some red caps on the black bar. Now the steering column, wheel, and the pedals are flat black, and the hydraulic pump is painted gray. Finally, the fire extinguisher is red and silver, and the shifter is a flat black. Attach the seat and the shifter to the seat base, which is attached to the floor. Then add the pedals to the floor. The hydraulic pump is attached to the bottom, and then the front wall is added. The fire extinguisher can be added to the rear frame. The steering wheel and the instruments are then installed and added to the column, and that's installed on the front frame. Now the front frame is mounted to the front wall and the rear frame. Grab these parts for the fuel cell, and it gets painted red with an aluminum cap and a black line. The battery is flat black with steel posts and yellow caps, and the base is black. Now attach the battery and the fuel cell into place on the base. We'll work on the frame now, and the sides of the frame have the cage sides added, and then they're painted black, and the cab wall is painted body color. Now I used Gravity Colors GC215. It's a Ford Guardsman blue there to match the body, and I painted the control box, the hydraulic reservoir, and the radiator overflow. Those are flat black, with the radio being aluminum. Insert the frame sides into the cab back without glue, and add the rear window in place with some white glue or clear cement. The window will loosely hold the frame in place until you add the interior next. Using some super glue, make sure that you remove any of the paint or even chrome where you're going to join pieces, and then install the interior into place at the attachment points for strength. Find these additional pieces and paint to support the front brace shock mounts and the skid plate black. Install the fuel cell unit in the front frame area and install the support over the fuel cell. Now add the front brace onto the frame's front, and the skid plate is on the bottom of the frame here, and the shock mounts must go from the side rails to the cage side. For ease of detailing, we're going to skip around here between steps 25 and 29, and we're going to paint the three support bars black that you see there by the radiator, and it is aluminum, the radiator that is, with a black frame bar, a gold oil cooler, and a green fan blade. Now the mufflers are aluminum, and install the mufflers onto the exhaust and install the motor with some super glue into place on the motor mounts. Now install the radiator and the three support bars into place. The red arrows here will show you that the support bars fit onto the frame there in place when you get it mounted properly. Gauge the pieces for the main chassis parts and paint the shock mounts, stabilizers, and link bars semi-gloss black. Install the shock mounts to the rear of the frame with some super glue, then add the stabilizer and link bars and install the shocks. Now on the front of the frame, install the shocks and the stabilizer with some super glue and add the clear panels to the sides with some white glue. Now gather the axle parts, and these are assembled next. Install the axle halves and assemble the axle halves there and add the differential cover and velocity joints, and then add the upper trailing arms and paint the unit black. Now paint the drive shafts black and assemble and paint the transfer case aluminum. Install the front axle to the shocks and to the trailing arms to the frame. Then insert the drive shaft and add the transfer case to the motor and the skid plate. Insert the rear drive shaft and install the axle to the shock mount and to the trailing arms, those to the frame. Then all the parts are attached with some super glue for strength. Insert the metal axles through the axle housings and then orient the tires so that they are facing forward. The point of the tread will hit the ground first, and install those tires. You now have a rolling chassis upon which to build the rest of the model, and you can set that aside to dry completely. Now we'll get the body ready for paint. So take some fine sandpaper, 6 to 800 grit, and remove any of the light parting lines that you find. And also we're going to install any of the loose panels here before we paint. So attach the roof wing visor and the bumper to the cab, and the rear oil pan to the bed there, or roll pan. And then note that the parts here get attached. They're also painted with primer, just like we did the original small parts. Although the molding is pretty good, I mean, these molds are getting old, and you'll need to remove any mold lines and excess flash from the body and the panels. And there was 2 large tabs on the cab and the bed. Those will be removed. Then wet sand the whole body with that light sandpaper, and then once that's dry, primer the body inside and out. And then the body and primer here, as you can see, remove any blemishes that may have been missed, and then once again wet sand with some 800 grit paper to get the whole base ready for color. Start with a couple of light mist coats to get some tackiness on the body, and then follow that up with a couple of wet coats for a nice deep rich color. Once that's dry, use plenty of warm water and then let the decal set in the water for about 1 minute, and then use warm water again to place them into position, and finally some of the setting solutions to make sure they fit all the contours. So let those dry overnight, and then you can apply a clear coat over them to seal them in place. Once the clear coat is dry, you can install the windows using some white glue. This stuff dries clear so it doesn't interfere with the windows. The last parts for assembly are the flags and the fog lights, so gather those up and get them ready. Paint the KC fog lights black with some white KC lettering. Highlight that with a dry brush, and then install them on the roof wing. Now the cab can be placed on the body to complete the front half. Look for your mounting points and use some good strong glue. Next, paint the flag poles black and attach the flags with some super glue. The flag poles attach to the holes in the bed cover. Now slide the completed bed onto the frame, locating its mounting points, and use some glue. Make sure to remove any paint that's there, and then this completes your build. From all the parts in the kit, there's just a couple that weren't used. A Ford oval emblem that goes in the grill, but that's covered with a decal, so I just used the decal. There's also a couple of clear domes that are probably for revolving lights that I didn't see in information here, so I left those off as well. Well, there you have it. 2 spectaculars coming together for one fine display. The assembly was pretty good. Actually, the parts all fit very well. There was a little bit extra cleanup because the molds are getting older. And we added some wiring to the engine, which really makes that stand out when you open the hood. Overall, it's a great kit. There's no assembly issues, and I think you're going to have a wonderful time putting this together and putting one on your shelf. Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best premium scale model reviews. Well, I hope you like this review, and if you don't want to miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But you can find us on Facebook and at our website, rightonreplicas.com. Thanks!